we are going to dive right in to episode 2 of Legacy. So last week, Pastor Chad brought us episode 1, where we were talking about where my life lives on. What are you doing to leave a legacy currently? Not what you've done already, but what are you currently doing? What are you going to be doing to leave a legacy moving forward? So one of the things we talked about, or I guess 2 of the things we talked about, was the question test, right? Everybody remember that from last week? 2-question test. First question is, what did I do with my son, Jesus? So God gave us his son. What did we do with his son? So that's the first question. And then the second question we talk about was, what did you do with what I gave you? What did you do with what I gave you? We've all been given talents of some sort. We all have a purpose in life. So what have we done with what God has given us? Amen? So we talked about how I gave my life way. I gave my life a purpose. I gave my life way. What was I doing with my life? Because what we have to remember is everything that we do here on earth, for the most part, is temporary, right? Money, temporary. Our jobs, temporary. Our careers, our houses, you name it, it's all temporary. At some point, it's going to end, right? So, and it's funny that I say that because for those of y'all who don't know, I'm a movie guy. I like movies. Movies are fantastic. And I was watching a movie yesterday because I was home alone, had nothing else to do. So I was watching a movie, and in the movie, the guy talks about how he started his job, he started his career with the mindset that it's going to end. So it doesn't really matter what happens. It's eventually going to end. Your house, you're eventually going to lose it, get rid of it, die, whatever the case may be. Your car, you'll eventually get rid of it because who wants the old jalopy? We got to upgrade to the new model. But at some point, it's all going to end. It's all temporary. But God is eternal. So what we have to do is we have to be driven by eternity. We have to focus on where we're going. What are the investments that we're making into? So, for example, we talk about how with tithes and giving and things like that, and you've heard it said before that we're making a way for the future. It's not about what's going to affect us right now. It's the difference we're making in somebody else's future. It's the people that we're raising up. It's how do I keep my children in church? I got to be focused on the future. I've got to be driven by where am I bringing these people to? I've got to drive them and bring them to where they're ultimately going, which is heaven. So we have to be driven by eternity. We have to be focused on eternity. Where are we going? How are we getting there? And that's what we're talking about, legacy, where my life lives on. What am I doing now to prepare a legacy and to drive towards eternity? In Ecclesiastes 3:11, it says, He has made everything beautiful in His time. He has also set eternity in the human heart. There's a time and a place for everything. It's not our time, but it's going to be His time. Everything operates within His time. We can't always control the clock. We want to, but we can't always do it. Sometimes we're looking for that microwave, but it's really a crock pot. And it's just marinating like that roast on Thursday, which is in that. Okay, never mind. I'm just having flashbacks. Sorry. But it's that crock pot. It's that you got to let it sit there. You got to let it marinate. And you're wanting it to hurry up because you're hungry and you're ready to go, but it's just not our time. And sometimes it's just preparing us for the next step. What's our next step? And we talked about that when we talked about when God seems in the process of the potter, that sometimes that hard part of waiting is we have to wait. And we don't always want to wait, but there's a time and a place for everything. So we have to just be reminded sometimes that it's in his time and it's not in our time. So what we have to do is we have to be driven by eternity. We have to think about what eternity is going to look like for us. Because what will happen is we're going to think about what eternity looks like, and we're going to start to live out our life accidentally instead of purposefully, instead of intentionally. You've heard us say this many times before, that God has a plan for your life. God's got a purpose for your life. Whatever that is, he has got it for you. But if we don't look towards the future, if we don't look towards where we're going, then we're going to start to live our lives accidentally. We're going to do things that maybe veer us off course. We're going to do things that cause us to stumble and hit the wall, like we've talked about before. We're not going to be living for eternity because we're focused on the here and now. We've got to be focused on where we're going. So one of the first things, or one of the first points we're going to have is number one, I will intentionally give what I have. I will intentionally give what I have. 2 Corinthians 9:11 says, you will be made rich in every way so that you can be generous on every occasion. And through us, your generosity will result in thanksgiving to God. I will intentionally give what I have. So the question becomes, what do you have to give? We all have something. What do we have to give? Most of the time, when you think about giving, you think about money, a monetary value to it. But it's not always about money. It's about the other things you can give. How about talents? What are your talents? What are your abilities? What can you offer somebody else? Maybe you're in a life group, or maybe you serve on a team and you have questions, or team members have questions, or they need help with something. What can you give? I can show you how to do something. I'm not going to do it for you because guess what? You're never going to learn. And then you're going to keep asking me questions, and I got to keep doing it for you. But I'm going to show you how to do it. I pick on my man Brian all the time because he's the master of the production booth. If you don't know Brian, you should, because he's an awesome guy. But he is the master of the production booth. And for the longest time, I messed with him because I was his leader, but he knew how to do everything, and I didn't. How many of y'all ever find yourselves in that situation or been a part of that situation? You're not the guy in charge, but you know how to do everything. So you'd be more than happy to teach him a thing or two, kind of rub that in a little bit. But he's just a great guy, and he's so humble. And I just tell him all the time, you could be the boss one day. You just got to apply yourself. I'm just the middle ground. This is just a stepping stone for me. But what he does is he gives his talents. He shows people how to do things. He challenges people. He raises up other leaders, because eventually he's going to be gone. We're all going to be there. Eventually we're all going to be gone. We're all going to be replaced. One of the things I learned when I first started ministry is Pastor Chad always told me, we're gonna move you in this position, and then I want you to find a replacement. I'm like, I didn't do that bad of a job. I just started. But it's about training up people, because what happens when you can't be there? What happens when you call in sick? What happens when there's a family emergency? Somebody else has to be able to take the reins, has to be able to take control, and it's just can't all rely on you. You know, sometimes you heard that saying, there's no I in team, right? Everybody's heard that before? Yeah. Yeah, but they forget the other half of it. There's a me, and I'm always focused about me, and me's going to do everything. And sometimes that doesn't always work. So we have to intentionally give what we have. So one of the things we have is talents. It's ability. I'm not the brightest bulb on the tree, but usually the lights are on somebody's home. They're all for your coffee. But for me, I'm like an organizational guy. I like processes and systems and backup plans and redundancies and contingency plans. I'm an organizational guy. So, like, when we have things and Pastor Chad's going to, like, wing it on the fly, like, that stresses me out because I like to have plans. I like to be organized. I like to know what's going on. I've got a plan that it's going to work wrong, and I'm going to need plans C and D. See, there's always like a plan A and B, and I'm working on C and D because I know plan A and B aren't going to work. There's going to fail at some point and be like, oh, no. And I'll be like, ha, I was prepared. I got you. But that's me. But sometimes we have people who are not so organized. And you know some people who are not organized, and that kind of stresses you out a little bit. So that's areas where I can help. So that's one thing we can give. Another thing we can give is time. Time is one of the most valuable things that we own. It was said before that time is the coin of life. Why let a fool spend it for you? Time is going to be the one thing you never get back. You could lose some talents. Like I used to play keys religiously. And then I moved on to other things. I did production for a while. I get the pleasure of speaking every now and then when Pastor Chad says, hey, I want you to speak. And I said, okay. Hey. But if I had to play right now, I wouldn't do as good because I haven't been playing in a while. I got awesome people like Christy back there just tearing it up, lighting it up. Yeah, just killing it. But if I had to do it, I'd be like, I need some chord charts. I need about 2 days to practice. I need some help. But we can lose talents. But if I stopped doing all this and got back onto that, ooh, watch out now. We'd be in some trouble. We can always get our talents back. We can always spend money. No, we don't have any more of it. But guess what? We do a little bit of hard work every other week, and we get some more back. And we can try to keep on some of that. So we can get some things back. But time is the one thing that once it's gone, you don't get it back. So what does that mean? That means we have to be purposeful and we have to be intentional about how we spend our time. I've got no problem showing someone how to do it, helping somebody this, spending some time listening to somebody's problem or their issue because I want to walk life out with people, right? We're not doing this alone. We're going to have people there to help us. We're going to have friends. We're going to have family. We're going to have a lot of good things happening. But I have to be intentional with my time. So I have to know to some degree that I'm investing my time wisely. Because if I'm going to spend my time, I need to know that we're making a difference. And sometimes you just got to go out on faith and just know that you're going to make a difference. But I'll pick on Christy again because she's so awesome. If Christy asks me, hey, how do I play this part in the song? And I go to show her, and she's like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, I ain't doing that. Then was my time invested wisely? Did I spend it wisely? What am I focused on? So that's what we're talking about when we say that time is so important. It's so valuable. You're serving in a ministry, you're leading a ministry. You're in a life group. How many life groups do you join? Do you join all of the ones that we have? All like 25, 30 of them? No. Why? Because some of them don't apply to you, and because I just can't spend my time out that far. I can't stretch my time and do all that and have life and kids and a spouse and a job, and I just can't stretch my time that far. So I have to be intentional about one of our groups or multiple of our groups. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and we were talking about life groups. And I was like, man, I ain't seen you in a while. He's like, well, that's because I had to prioritize some things. I knew that I may have signed up for a couple groups, but I like groups because groups are awesome. But I was working on this group and this group, and they just took priority. And I just couldn't make it to yours. I still love you, though. I don't hate you. I still love you. But I just couldn't make it. But why? Because we had to prioritize our time. We have to be intentional about our time. So we're willing to give up some time. We're willing to give up what we have. We just have to be intentional about it. We just have to be focused on what we're doing. What are we trying to accomplish? How is the time that I give up and the talents that I give up and what treasures I give up going to help drive eternity? Amen? The second thing is I will intentionally serve others. I will intentionally serve others. Matthew 20:26 through 28 says, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant. Must be your servant. And whoever wants to be first must be your slave. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as ransom for many. I will intentionally serve others. That's what we do. That's just who we are. You know, we weren't saved to sit. We were saved to serve. It's just who we are. We're furthering the mission. We're trying to get people to experience Jesus who don't know Jesus. That's one of the great many things about ARC, the Association of Related Churches. They help to plant churches all over the world. And you know what they do? You want to take a guess? They serve. They serve people. They provide people with resources. We talked about it before. We're not meant to do all this alone. Could you imagine, even if you weren't in church, starting up your own business and go? Got nobody to help you. Got nobody to ask questions. It's hard. You don't always have all the resources personally. So that's what they're here to do. They're here to give you financial support. They're here to give you technical support. They're here to provide you with all the resources you need to be successful. You've got to intentionally serve others. That's all. Everything we do on a Sunday morning is to serve you. From the moment you pull on the campus, and somebody may or may not be out there with a sign saying, hey, welcome to Life Church, what's happening? To the nice people who are directing you where to go with the color little vest so you don't run them over, right? Safety first. To the people who hold the door open for you, smile at you, shake your hand, tell you good morning, welcome to Life Church. People at guest services, answering any questions you have. The delicious pot of black gold that sits over there in the corner. To the lovely people upstairs that are supervising your children so that you can be in here to enjoy today's experience. Distraction-free, might I add. To the worship team leading us into the presence this morning. To our production team who helped the worship team look and sound good. But everything is done to serve you. It's to intentionally serve others. Because then what's going to happen is once you make that connection, once you've established that relationship, then you're going to feel like there's something more. I've got to do something more. There's something more for me than just hanging out every Sunday, in and out, real quick, real fast. This is where you have that opportunity to serve. This is where, when I intentionally serve others, I decide to take those next steps. I decide to go through Discover Life, which, as you saw in the news, happens every Sunday except the 5th Sunday. So today should be step 4. But every Sunday. Why? Because it's an on-ramp for you to be able to serve others. So with that, I can go through Discover Life. I can learn a little bit more about Life Church and what it means to serve and what are some of our values and what do we do, and then I can go out and join a team. And then I can begin serving others the way I was served when I came here. And you think about those kind of things. What are the things that bring you in, that you enjoy, that keep you? Something as simple as, man, somebody shook my hand and told me good morning this morning. I felt amazing when that happened. It was awesome. And guess what? Next thing you know, you're going to be out there shaking someone's hand, telling them good morning, because you want them to feel the exact same way you did when you came here. It's going to be about intentionally serving others. And then we have number 3, which is I will intentionally share Christ. 2 Corinthians 5:20 says, we are Christ's ambassadors. God is making his appeal through us. It goes on to say in Luke 14 that go out into the country and urge anyone you find to come in, so that my house will be full. Mark 16 says, Jesus said to his followers, go everywhere in the world and tell the good news to everyone. Tell the good news to everyone. See, that's what we do. And I use this again because it works. That goes back to our life groups. And our life group semester just ended, but don't worry, it's coming back at the end of January. So short pause, and then we'll be kicking and screaming again. But that's how we share Christ. We're going to talk about Jesus on Sundays, but sometimes I need a little more. I need to get a little more. So through life groups, we begin to intentionally share Christ. Doesn't matter what your group is. Could be a men's group, could be a women's group, students, marriage couples, financial groups, freedom groups. But wherever that case is, we are going to share Christ. We are going to dive into what it means to be a Christ follower, what it means to have a purpose for my life, what it means to have a plan. We are going to dive into all of these things because we want to know more. And why? Because we know that there are just amazing things that happen in our lives. Amazing things. Things that maybe we can't explain. And you know this because your life begins to change. Somehow, some way, your life begins to change. And you know it. And you experience it, and you're going through it. But guess what happens? Somebody else notices that. And they're like, man, well, something's different about you. Something's changed about you. You don't act the same way. You don't talk the same way. You don't do the same old things that you used to do. Why? Because we know that in order for us to stay in our walk with God, we've got to give up some things. What has got us to this point is not going to get us to the next point. We're going to have to get rid of some things. We're going to have to cut off some dead weight. We're going to have to break some chains, some things that are holding us down, holding us back. We're going to have to break off some things to get us to where we need to be, to where we're going. And people are going to take notice of that. Something's different about you. You don't seem the same. What's different about you? Well, first of all, go to church. Second of all, I've just developed a really nice relationship with a cool dude named Jesus. And keep it simple, put in terms that people are going to understand. Because if you use a bunch of fancy church words, they're going to be confused. So keep it simple. KISS method. Keep it simple, silly. Because you're not stupid. So we're going to explain it to them in a way, and that's our opportunity to intentionally share what we're doing in our lives that are making our lives better, which in turn is going to make their lives better. You're going to help them make their life better. So by sharing Christ, we make others' lives better, because there's more to our lives than what we think. So this is what we do. And this is how we do that, is life groups. We meet weekly, throughout the week, different groups, different times. And we talk about Jesus. And we talk about the issues that face us, whether it's issues that face women or issues that face men or stuff that couples go through, or maybe it's financial troubles, or maybe you just got a lot of things going on in your life that are affecting you, and you just need to experience some freedom from that in a freedom group. Whatever the case may be, it's our way to intentionally share Christ. It's our way to walk life out with others. That's our whole mission through life groups, is to walk life out together. It's that you're not alone. I'm here to share Christ with you. I'm here to share your problems with you. Because guess what? If you think you're going through something, then you probably are. But you're not the only one. Other people are either there or have been there and can bring you from there. You're not alone. This isn't a new concept of, I've got an issue. Man, I've never heard anything like this. No one has ever experienced that. And in all the time of man, all the hundreds and thousands and millions of years, come on. Somebody has experienced that, and we're here to walk that out with you. We're here for you to know that you are not alone. Somebody is here with you. Somebody loves you. And we're gonna get you through this. We're gonna bring you through that valley. We talked about that the other day. We're talking about going through the valley. You don't stop in the valley. You just go through the valley. It's a travel point. You're not looking to stay there. Nobody wants to stay there. We're just trying to pass through. In 1 Timothy 6:17 through 19, it says, "Command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant, or to put their hope in wealth," which is so uncertain, because you could lose that any time. "Who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment." Command them to do good, to be rich in good deeds, to be generous and willing to share. In this way, they will lay up treasure for themselves as a firm foundation for the coming age, so that they may take hold of the life that is truly life. So the question becomes, why? Why? Why do we give? Why are we intentionally sharing Christ? Why are we intentionally, giving what we have? Why are we intentionally serving others? Why? It's because it's very simple. There's more to this life than just this life. There's more to life than just this life. This is why we do all these things. This is why we're so intentional about everything that we do. Because there is more to this life than just this life. Where are we going? We know the destination. How are we getting there? What are we doing to leave a legacy? How are we living out that legacy right now? What are we doing? How are we being the change that we want to see? How are we being that role model? How are we being that mentor? How are we being that vehicle that drives it? How are we going to be driven by eternity? And that's our question this morning. As the team comes out, we prepare to go into worship. There's going to be more to this life than just this life. We're going places. We're all going to heaven. But we've got to get our way there. We've got to make our way there. We've got to be intentional, because we talked about for things that are important to us, going to heaven, I assume, and hopefully for the most of y'all is important. We're going to be intentional about what we're doing. We're going to be prayerful about what we're doing. Because there's going to be a point in our lives where it all ends. Where there's not going to be any more money. Where there's going to be houses that are gone, cars that are gone. And there's several times in the Bible where you see people who are like, Jesus, I want to follow you. You're a cool guy. I like what you're talking about. I like the direction you're going. And what did he say? Leave everything. Follow me. For some people, that was like, okay, got you. For other people, they were like, yeah, but I really like where I'm working. I really like my house. I really like what I got going here. I got a good spread. I got a good setup. But what did he say? If you want to follow me, great. Happy to have you on board. But what are you going to have to do? You're going to have to leave some things behind. You're going to have to make some sacrifices. And that's what we do all the time. There are some things in our lives that we're just not going to be able to take with us. That we're just going to have to sacrifice a few little things because we're not going to be able to take that where we're going. What got us here isn't going to get us there necessarily. We are going to have to lose some things in order to get where we're going. Amen. As you stand all over the house this morning, I just want to take a short opportunity to pray for you, and then we're going to extend you an invitation to come up to the front. And we believe, or I believe, that God has got something special planned for you. Whether you know it or not, God's going to have something special planned for your life. I believe that he is just going to flood everyone in here with just a sense of generosity. That there's going to be something that's going to spark you to be a little more intentional with what you have. Things that are going to cause you to serve more maybe than you ever served before, because you know what the difference is going to mean and make in someone's life. It's the start, if you haven't started already, it's the start of your legacy. It's going to be the point where you're going to make the difference in someone's life. You're going to be able to share Christ with others. Amen. So with every head bowed, I'm going to pray for you this morning, and our team is going to lead us in worship. Jesus, I thank you today. I thank you for everyone in this building under the sound of my voice, to our online family, that we just thank you for that spirit of generosity that you give us, to not only give of our talents, but of our time. Lord, that we know it's a precious gift, and we are just making that investment into others, because we know that investment is going to be an investment for eternity. It's not an investment for now. It's not an investment for tomorrow, but it's an investment for eternity.